All right, welcome in. We are going to do a Pantone postcard, Swedish Blue, and we are doing this cute little pup. He is near and dear to my heart because I do love English Bulldogs. We used to have 3 of them, but they all have went the way of the Rainbow Bridge. But they all died of old age, so that was good. Now, of course, I did my signature brown and blue mixture for the black part of his eyes, and now I am just going to go ahead and put in some of this white. I'm just going to block in the white parts of his face and around his snout. Now, this white is, when it dries more transparent than I care for, but we're just going to layer it. That's the beauty of gouache. We can layer it. We don't have to worry about, it getting muddy as long as we layer it with the same color. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm blocking in some of the colors. I've also mixed some of the white with just a tad bit of gray, and I'm putting that in the darker white, in the areas of the white that are shadowed. Put it that way. That way it makes more sense, I think. So where the white is in shadow, I've added just a little bit of black to the white to make a gray, or you can use some complementary colors together to make a gray, whatever you want to do. I'm just doing it the easy way for my little postcard here for my cute little puppy. Now, I know a lot of y'all have been stressed out a lot lately, but I'm here to just give you a little word of encouragement. I know that everything in the world feels heavy and crazy right now. There's just, and not just in our country, all over the world, everything is just going nuts, it feels like. But remember, you're going to have to center yourself. Don't let this steal your quiet joy in creating. Don't stop creating. I know that I have stopped creating more than I normally do because I've just felt so overwhelmed. But what you can do is just take a deep breath, just inhale, just really inhale and exhale, and know that you are here, you're showing up, and that already matters more than you think. That's the most important thing. So, as you are here, remember to start layering. That's right, this is a terrible segue. Just start layering your browns around your puppy. Pay attention to where the highlights are, where the shadows are, and block in those shapes, block in those colors as you go. Just really pay attention to your reference photo as you do your blocking in. Now I'm going to go in for some really dark darks, and these are just like an umber brown, really deep browns, and you might even want to mix a touch of blue with it to darken it up a little bit more. That's up to you. But as you see, what I'm doing is I'm just blocking in shapes for the shadows and for the highlights, just depending on what colors I need. So the shadows are obviously the darker colors, the highlights are the lighter colors. But I do want you to remember that, every day we wrestle with feelings and they seem to overwhelm us. But the main thing is that we remember we are human, and it's not about being perfect. It's just about being present, about absorbing what's right in front of you, not worrying about the dishes, not worrying about the floor hasn't been mopped, but just really enjoying the moment in the present, looking at how light fades through leaves on the trees, or how colors blend, or just all of the things, a butterfly just resting on a beautiful flower, just things like that. Just be in the moment. And remember that your voice matters, your art matters, and I want you to keep making it. So I'm just really, really worried that all the stuff in the world is going to start discouraging people from being creative because they start getting too anxious and stressed. And for me, art is a way to work through my anger, work through my stress, and also reconnect with that still spot inside of myself, that really good, calm spot. So I'm hoping that you'll give this little bulldog a try, and while you're doing it, you're just focusing on the present, layering these colors. Now with him, I noticed that his little nose, I couldn't really see his nose in the reference photos, so I just came in there and I just sketched it in right in the middle of painting, and it's okay because gouache will cover over the pencil marks. And so I'm going in there with my darkest darks first on his little nose, getting those little nostrils, where his lips meet at the top. His top lips meet, and then where his bottom lip meets his top lip, we got that in. And then I'm going with a little bit lighter of kind of a brownish gray to get some of the mid-tones into his little nosy. And I'm going to come over here and add a little bit to his eyes as well. He's got some highlights and some reflections in his eyes, trying to get those in there. And then I'm just going in with some pink on his little toe beans. He's got the cutest little toes. And then some highlights on his eyelids with that really, really pale yellow brown. And then, of course, layering the white. Like I said, that white is pretty transparent, so it's going to take a lot of layering to get it to be as white as I want it to be. And I am definitely going to go and get some different white gouache to see if I can find one that's more opaque than this one. So now I am coming back again with the white. Like I said, this is the bane of my existence on this doggone painting. I'm going to go ahead and put another layer of white and see how I'm letting some of that darker color shine through, that sort of blue-gray that the white has melted into, shine through. And that'll help with the shadows. That gives it some shadows. You don't have to fight against the fact that it's transparent. Just incorporate it into your overall design, as those can be the shadows for the white. Now I'm coming in and adding some more light brown fur. I'm also doing tiny little brush marks. If I haven't mentioned it, I'm also using the golden maple detail brushes. Now I'm going into some burnt sienna, and again I'm just blocking in shapes. I'm not thinking about painting the bulldog. I'm thinking about each shape, the light, highlights, the shadows, where they are, where they fall on the dog, and trying to get those values. And a value is just the lightness or darkness of something. Get the values correct. That's what's going to make it look more three-dimensional. So I'm layering over that, layering. And I'm also just paying attention to the shapes of the shadows, the highlights, the midtones, and just blocking those in as I go. So I just want you to know that as you paint, you don't have to fix the world with your art. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to make the next small mark. You just have to make the next brush stroke, the next little doodle. And in doing that, you're giving yourself calm, clarity, and a reminder that beauty still exists. So that is kind of an antidote to everything going on right now, as far as I'm concerned. I cannot suggest art enough. It has saved my life many, many times. So now, as I am checking my reference photo, always remember, look at your reference photo more than you actually look at your painting. I'm just going to come in and put some really, really light highlights on there. And I'm doing tiny little brush strokes to make it look like fur. Now remember, I've said this 1,000 times. When you are painting fur, make sure your brush strokes go or in the direction that the fur is actually growing so that it looks natural and realistic. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm noticing how the fur is flowing on the face and on the wrinkles, how it's growing, what direction, and I am painting those tiny little brush strokes that, are representing the fur in that direction. If you do it in the opposite direction, it's going to look it's going to look bad. Don't do it. It's going to look bad. It's going to look, don't do it. So anyway, I'm still trying to fight with this white. That has been the hardest part of this painting, is getting this white as light as I want it to be. And I was almost tempted to just break out the acrylic paint, but I didn't. I stuck with it, and I want you to stick with it too. Just stick with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to learn something from the process, and that is the best you can hope for most days. It's just do the process and learn from it. And then the next little bulldog puppy you do is going to be better. And then the next one after that will be even better. And that's how we learn, just by actually painting, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and sometimes fighting through transparent gouache that you wish was more opaque. And that's what I'm doing with this one. So I'm layering the heck out of his white stripes and his little white muzzle. But it's going to get there. I'm determined. We're going to get it there. I don't care how many layers I got to do. Oh, and another little tip while you are painting with gouache about layering, you want your first layers to be thinner, maybe have a little bit more water in them, and then slowly build it up with thicker layers, because if you have thick, that gives it a chance to dry before you add more paint. But if you do your gouache in too thick of layers too soon, it could crack. It has the chance to crack. We don't want our paintings to crack. So it's almost like oil painting, where you go in lean first. You put your turpentine or whatever, mix it with your oil to thin it down, and you do your thin layers first, and then you start doing thicker layers over that so that it doesn't crack. So you want to do kind of the same thing with gouache, only you're using water instead of, all the mediums that you mix it with and thinners and stuff. So that's just a little tip about gouache. Now I am trying to go around his eyes, getting those highlights in. And this gouache, especially against this blue, is really drying, more transparent than I expected it to. But I'm just going to keep going and layering. And as a matter of fact, I think the layering does give it a little nuance. It gives it a little something extra, because each layer, I'm not doing solid layers. I'm just doing brush strokes, just tiny brush strokes. So you can actually see each layer through the next layer. And that just gives it a little bit of vibration, and it also gives it some nuance and some complexity and some depth. And that's what you want in your paintings. So although I'm complaining about this being more transparent than I want, it's actually kind of a little bit of a blessing. It's making me push myself to, keep on painting, not give up, because I know there are lots of times when you look at your painting and you're like, oh, I got to throw this away. I got to throw it away. It is not, nope. But if you keep going, get past that ugly stage, persevere, just like anything in life, you'll probably end up being okay with the end product. And I was with this one. Once I finished with this, I was like, okay, this is okay. I like it. It was a battle, but I got it done. And sometimes art can be like that. Just be kind to yourself. Don't get all stressed out about it. Don't do that. Just keep painting. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Know that no matter what you tell yourself, you belong here. You're an artist, and your work matters. Learning matters. Now I'm doing his little toenails. I'm putting just a tiny bit of pink in those toenails, because he's got some little pink toenails. And putting the highlights on his little paws. He's so cute. Getting his little toe beans highlighted with some more pink. He is just the sweetest little thing. Sweetest little thing ever. Now these little toenails on this side he's got one white one and 3 dark ones. So we put those in. And they're just little triangles. I didn't do anything special, but they still look like his little toenails. I'm just kind of painting in a little pink around his muzzle, right under his nose, on his lips, because his fur is white. And you can kind of see through it. So you can see that little pink skin right at his snout. So I'll just put a little touch of pink in there, make it look a little bit more realistic. And now I am just coming up here and putting in some more shadows. And I'm still doing just like tiny little brush marks to make it look like fur as best I can. Putting in the highlights on his other little ear. Some highlights around his eyes and around his other ear. So they're both highlighted with that really pale kind of, it's kind of a yellowy brown. It's like a burnt sienna with some white and just a tiny, tiny touch of yellow in it. So I'm getting his little highlights on there. I'm paying attention to the shapes of them. I'm looking at that reference photo, making sure I'm getting the correct shapes in the correct spots, making sure I'm trying to get it light enough or dark enough if it's a shadow. But for these we're doing a little highlights right there. And I'm also reminding myself that if it dries darker, I can come in with another layer and lighten it up some more, because gouache is so forgiving. I love this medium. I think I say it every time I paint with gouache. I'm like, I love gouache. I love it. And I do. So, I don't know. I need to do some watercolor. I haven't done any, like a really serious watercolor in a while. I've been on gouache and pastel and ink and things like that. So, yeah, I need to get into some watercolor. He is so cute. I am loving him. He is just darling. Just keeping on trying to lighten up those highlights, putting another layer of white on. Doggone it, I'm determined to get this light. I'm determined to get it as white as I need it to be in some of these areas. I am not letting it beat me. It ain't whooping me today. Nope. So don't let your art whoop you. Just keep at it. Just if you have to wrangle with it. But most of the time, no. Art is very relaxing for your brain. I'm acting like this is a big battle, but I'm not even going to lie. I enjoyed painting every stroke of this painting with all of its little aggravations. It calmed me down, it centered me, and it made me feel so much better. So I am just going to come in here and put even more white in the highlighted areas. I think this is my 10th layer of white. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but I have really had to layer this white up. I'm not happy with it. I am getting me a new white. This one is just too transparent. And of course that is a strong blue background, so it is still going to kind of shine through that white. And that's okay because I'm using that as the shadows. I'm trying to use it to my advantage. And I think it's working out. I'm not unhappy. I'm not mad at it. I am not mad at this painting at all. I am loving this little cute puppy. Gosh knows I love dogs and cats and raccoons. And I just love animals. It's my thing. So I'm just putting in these little highlighted details, trying to like show where his little whiskers, the little pores for his whiskers are, and they're all in a cute little line. Just darkening those up too. Making sure I got his nose rope in there. He's got a cute little nose rope. And if you don't know, a nose rope is that wrinkle that goes right over the nose of English bulldogs, British bulldogs, whatever you want to call them. And his is just cute. He's got a cute little nose rope, and I think I've got it shadowed pretty well. And I'm just adding some details now. I'm pretty much almost finished with him. I'm not going to do a whole lot more to him. I'm not going to put another layer of white on him for sure. I'm just going to add some highlights on his little toes here. We've got the highlights on his muzzle, on his face, on his little white part on his neck. And he's got some little white on his toes, got that in there. We're going to brighten up that highlight in his eyes and just work on these little paws some more, putting even lighter brown on those. Yeah, he's adorable. And I really like doing these sort of brush strokes that are far apart to let that bottom layer shine through. And it kind of lets your eye blend it together, and it also gives that texture of fur. It's really a nice technique with gouache. I'm sorry if you can hear Darcy snoring. He's right beside of me. So I decided I was going to paint the table, or the little part that he has got his little paws on, a different color from the background just to separate it out. So I'm just going with a turquoisey blue color, just mixed with a lot of white. And I'm just going to go and paint over that. And then it needs a shadow. He's casting a shadow on that table with his little paws. So I'm just going in with maybe a little bit of a darker blue under that. Once I get this blended, we will get that shadow going. And I'm just trying to put the shadow. It's just a deeper blue. It's the same color, but I've just put a little more blue, a little less white in it. And just putting some shadow so that he is casting a shadow. And then I'm lightening up around the shadow because I want that shadow to look a little bit darker without going much darker. So instead of doing that, I decided to go around it with something lighter because that's how I roll. All right, we are done with this cute little painting. I thank you for being here. Shout out to my patrons. I love you guys, and happy painting.